it sucks for Max because like you're kind of living under Volkanovski's shadow. Volkanovski is arguably one of the best fighters in the world, one of the greatest of all time. And for Max, he's been dominant every fight except for the Volkanovski fights. Those are the ones that are just his kryptonite. And it sucks that Volkanovski has his number like that and he just can't get through him. But he can get through anybody else, and he makes everybody else look like just easy money, easy work. Max Holloway, I mean, he's likable. He was a good champion. And he wasn't scared to fight nobody, and we want a champion like that. But then you got Volkanovski, who's the same way, just slightly better than you. Hey guys, welcome to the False Line Podcast here with episode 157. Yes, sir. We had a chill weekend this weekend. We had UFC fight night, Korean Zombie retiring, Max Holloway fought. We had the Usyk fight. We had a big announcement, Conor McGregor coming back in December, supposedly. So let's kind of just talk about those things, and I want to start off talking about yesterday. We had UFC fight night. Honestly, I only watched the Korean Zombie and Holloway fight just because I was tired, sleepy, and I watched it just waking up. And when the fight was over, I went back to sleep. So yeah, I kind of slept in a lot. But the fight I was surprised how the Korean Zombie came out, to be honest with you. He came out ready to fight. He threw a lot, and I mean that's his reputation, right? The Korean Zombie, he comes out and he's always going to try and fight and make the fight exciting. So it was cool that he came out and did that. It was my third fight watching from the Korean Zombie. I've never really followed him or know too much about him. But it was cool to see that, especially against someone like Max Holloway, who's a beast on as far as striking goes. And and then of the second round he came even more hot, and then he kind of just got caught and then put to sleep, and Max Holloway, to be honest, is just too good, in my opinion, for someone like Korean Zombie. It's kind of a little upsetting that was kind of the last fight. It would have been nice to see the Korean Zombie end in a really, really high note, but I get it. UFC Fight Night, you do it in Singapore. You could say hometown for a Korean Zombie, or he was the A side, and then you have an opponent like Max. So it was a good way for the Korean Zombie to retire. And very, emotional for him. He said it himself. He started, fighting and got in the UFC to become a UFC champion. And, he lost, against Volk and now to Max. So he's just kind of his time to walk away. And I think that's cool that he just knows that, it's probably not going to happen. I'm getting old to the point where I don't need to be doing this too much. So he's just going to walk away from the sport. And it's really awesome to see, And I want to talk about one fact that I didn't know about this. Not that this is not the fact, but he was in the UFC since 2010, so about 10 years. And I say 10 because I know we're in 2023, but he didn't fight from 2014 to 2017 at all in the UFC. So that's why I say 10 years. He actually beat Dustin Poirier at one in the UFC. I want to say at 145. So I think that's pretty funny, especially how they kind of where Dustin's at in his career to lose to the Korean Zombie. So, and Dustin Poirier doesn't have any losses, and one of them's to the Korean Zombie. So that's pretty interesting. But that's the fight. That's the fight itself. Obviously nothing next for the Korean Zombie, but to retire and enjoy his retirement, and hopefully we get to see him involved with the UFC, commentating or doing things like that, or interviews, whatever, right? So the real question now is what's next for Max Holloway? What do you do with him? And it's really unfortunate kind of what happened. And it kind of feels almost like the 145 division has a dedicated champion, and then I know it doesn't really make sense, but you had Jose Aljo had his run, and he gets taken from Max Holloway, and then Max Holloway's a champion. It's his run, and then he loses the belt to Volk, and Volk's now the champion still. And it's kind of 145 is one of those divisions where there's just kind of a dominant champion, and then the person who steps up to become the next champion is going to be there for a few years, And that's how it's been. That's what the pattern's been at 145. So I mean, for Max, it's just like, do you run it back with Volk again for the fourth time? And the fourth fight we barely had this year, so it's not this year, but last year with Brandon Moreno and Figueiredo. So for the fourth fight with Volk, at least right now, it doesn't really make sense, And I just say it because it's just whatever happens after that fight, Because if Volk loses, like, what do? You run it back a fifth time, It's just kind of like, I don't know. So let's see, okay. So this is what I think should happen at 145 with Holloway and Volkanovski. I think Volkanovski should go fight Ilia Topuria, or whatever his last name is. Go fight Ilia. Go beat Ilia, because I don't. The only person that can honestly beat Volkanovski is Max Holloway. That's it. So, and Volk said himself, he doesn't want Ilia to go fight Max because Max is gonna probably beat him. And I mean, it's just how it is. So Volk goes fight Ilia, and I think Max Holloway should fight Aljamain Sterling, no doubt. Because for Aljo, it's gonna be, they're not gonna give you that rematch right away. As much as I want them to give it to him, they're not gonna give it to Aljo right away. They're just not, And I get it. You don't want him to be champion again, or Sean doesn't want that fight, whatever it may be. But I think Aljo, don't go through another weight cut. If he really wants it, then I mean, I can't hold him back. But I'm like, speaking as a fan perspective or whatever, like, don't put your body through so much damage. Don't cut to 135, cut to 145. Go fight Max Holloway. Like, just go see what happens, man. Go make some good money, make a good fight, and it'll be exciting. I don't know how that fight goes, just because Max is so good at striking, and Aljo's really good on the ground. It's kind of like another Sean versus Aljo fight. Very stylistically similar fight, you could say. And then for Volk, again, he beats Ilia, and then it's just like, well, who else does Volk fight? And that way, if Max Holloway gets a big win against someone like Aljo, and in that fight, I think if he beats Aljo, it's like, okay, I think it gives him, a more, how do you say it? Like, it makes more sense for him to fight Volkanovski. And then Volkanovski doesn't really have an opponent no more at 145. Just have your last fight with Max Holloway at 145, and that's it. And if you win, move up to 155. If you lose, just stay at 155 and try and be champion at 155, which is really possible. I think he could do it. So we'll see what happens. And in a fairy tale world, it would be awesome to see Volkanovski, beat Ilia, and then he goes up and beats the winner of Charles and Islam, and then he comes back and fights Max, and then goes back to 155. That's a lot. A lot of things got to go right, but I mean, who knows? But it's really exciting, for 135, 145, and 155, because you got just moving parts. And with moving parts, someone is going to come short, or there's going to be a new guy coming in making a lot of noise, or there's just an upset that causes a rematch. Just things like that, you just never know. Could you imagine if Aaliyah just goes and beats Volk, which I doubt will to happen, or if Aljamain goes and beats Max Holloway? It's just like, well, shit, now Aljo's next for 145. Like, why not? You know what I'm saying? Like, no one has beaten Max and then go fight Volkanovski. Like, that hasn't happened. No one's beaten Max and then Volk. And it's just like, well, could Aljo do it? We don't know. Possibly. So I think that's what happened with Max. Like I said, Max should go hopefully fight Aljo if Aljo decides to move up, and then Volk goes fight Aaliyah, and then Max and Volk can fight after, they fight their people. And they should do it sometime next year. And then that's it. Just move on from whatever happens. But it sucks for Max because, like, you're kind of living under Volkanovski's shadow. Volkanovski is arguably one of the best fighters in the world, one of the greatest of all time. And for Max, he's been dominant every fight except for the Volkanovski fights. those are the ones that are just his kryptonite. And it sucks that Volkanovski has his number like that and he just can't get through him. But he can get through anybody else, and he makes everybody else look like just easy money, easy work. So it sucks that, Max Holloway has to live or go through this when Volkanovski's, on top. Because Max Holloway, I mean, he's likable. He was a good champion. And he wasn't scared to fight nobody, and we want a champion like that. But then you got Volkanovski, who's the same way, just slightly better than you. So it's tough. It's tough, and but it's also awesome to have two fighters in that division that are just the best, and for Max, I mean, why not think about moving up as well? Think about going to 155, possibly fight someone like Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje, Michael Chandler. Like, those are good matchups for Max, very exciting, in my opinion. But let's move on. Breaking news today, Sunday. What's today? The 26th, the 27th. Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler got announced for UFC 296, UFC 296 on December 16th, 2023. Conor's coming back, hopefully in December. He talks a lot of crap. This happened when he came back to fight Dustin. Just a lot of chirping that he's going to come back. And, so it got announced. It got leaked. I don't think it got announced officially from the UFC, but it's been kind of leaked that it's going to happen from, I forgot what the source was. It was like UFC fight something. But it's a legit source, and I hope that this fight happens, and it's going to be an exciting fight because we get to see, obviously, Conor McGregor come back after his leg injury when he messed up his shin or whatever it was, but just broke in half. And, to fight someone like Michael Chandler that he can definitely capitalize on his skill, which is the counter or setting up, that perfect, punch, because Michael Chandler's going to come in there, ready to fight, and he's going to throw everything. So you just catch him one time, that could be lights out for Michael Chandler. Then Conor McGregor's back on top of the world, and maybe he keeps fighting. And that's what I hope for. When he came back and fought Dustin, I was like, man, I want him to beat Dustin and then just start, calling people out, just to have that old Conor back. And that's what I'm hoping for. I hope he gets a nasty win. When I say nasty, just a crazy knockout, gets a knockout, and then just start talking mad shit, talking crazy to everybody. I don't know why it feels so cool, or not cool, but it feels good just to see Conor talk crazy. It's just so fucking entertaining because he talks crazy, but then he's probably going to fuck you up. And that's what makes it even better. And it makes it even so much more funnier. So if he goes in there, talks crazy to Michael Chandler, and then he gets the knockout, it's just raw. And, UFC going crazy. And then can you imagine he goes and is calling out Justin Gaethje and talking all this shit to Justin Gaethje. And then he goes and beats Justin Gaethje. And then he's like, man, who wants to smoke? And at that point, I mean, you might as well fight Islam Makhachev, to be honest with you, or Charles Oliveira. I know he said he wanted the trilogy with Nate, but, I mean, if he gets 2 fights and then he gets 2 wins in a row, I mean, he's up there for a title shot, just being honest. So, I don't know, man, if Conor comes back. But, and a few weeks ago, Conor said that he wants to come back in December and fight Chandler, and then he wants to fight Justin Gaethje for the BMF belt. And then he wants to fight the trilogy with Nate Diaz. And I think that was going to be boxing, to be honest with you. But, hopefully it happens. And if it does happen, hopefully Sean O'Malley can headline and he can defend his title, whether it's Aljo or Merab. And I say those 2 names because I think Sean should defend his title against either of those guys. Or maybe Henry, Cejudo. But I don't think Henry Cejudo deserves a title shot just because he just lost to Aljamain. So, I mean, I think it makes sense for Merab or even Peter Yan, but definitely I think it's Aljo or Merab. Sean has a rematch with Aljo, and then you got Conor and Michael Chandler for co-main December 16th. That would be the fucking card, man. And that card would be crazy. It would sell a lot of pay-per-views, and you have one of the most, it's kind of like Conor's passing on the torch to Sean O'Malley at that point, especially if they go and both win. It'd just be magical, if I'm being honest. So it'd be cool. It'd be real cool, man. And I hope he comes back. And I hope if Conor comes back, he comes back and he really does something, man. Because he had an amazing run early on in his career. And and then just kind of just been all over the place, obviously with money and the moves that he's making and everything he's doing outside the UFC. But I was like, man, just give us like 2 years. Just give us 2 years of that old Conor, and go fight, go do some performances, and just be badass, and hopefully be a champion again. Because it would just be like, I don't know, it would just make me happy as a fan, And it's because Conor was the reason why I fell in love with the UFC, and I just would want to see him be champion again. Like he did it. He did it again. Last thing I want to mention today, or talk about today, is that we had the Usyk versus Dubois fight. I don't know how to say their names. I'm so sorry, but they fought yesterday, and people were talking. It was a weird fight, but overall, Usyk won. The fight. 1-12. At the end of the fight, Usyk won that fight. The only thing that makes this fight so controversial is that, I don't know if it was in third or in the fourth round, Dubois, he throws a body shot, and it's like right on the baseline, and it hits Usyk on his belt line. But people are saying that his belt line was too high. People are saying that it's a low blow. And for me, I'm just like, to be honest with you, it sucks that happened, because that would have been an opportunity that you can get Usyk in some real trouble, and then you can put him out, but they stopped the fight. Usyk takes up his whole 5 minutes. They go back into it, they fight, and Usyk just has a dominant performance. And it was just a dominant performance. But the only thing that sucks is just like, well, what would have happened if, that would have been differently, or if they wouldn't have give Usyk all the 5 minutes. Like, it was a clean shot. Let's keep fighting. Let's go. And for me, if I'm Dubois or whatever his name is, like, you can't let these things get to you during the fight, because I know in his head, he was probably like, oh, I put him out. That's it. Like, he's done. Or maybe he's still mad. Like, why did they call that? Or why did they give him 5 minutes to recover? Maybe like he was just the whole fight. That's all he was thinking about. And he was getting beat up at the same time. And it's like, for Dubois, it's just like, you gotta, you know what? They gave him the 5 minutes. It is what it is. I gotta go out there and put this guy out. Or I gotta go out there and beat this guy. And for Usyk, he's just kind of too good. It just outclassed him in every aspect. So, you might have been, I don't want to use the word robbed, because maybe Usyk recovers and nothing happens, right? Maybe that's just what happens. Maybe Usyk doesn't recover and it's over. But the thing is that it's not like they called the fight. There were still like 8 more rounds to go, or 7. So there was still a lot of fight left. So it wasn't like a robbery. And Usyk, we don't know how hurt he really was, to be honest with you. So it's just like, it wasn't a robbery. Was it a shitty situation? Yeah. Was it a shitty call? I don't know. Like, it's just one of those not freak accidents, but one of those weird things that you just don't know what to do. And honestly, like, hey, let's stop. Let him take his 5 minutes, low blow. Like, that was the safest thing to do, right? Because it's just like, well, what if it was a low blow and then he knocks out Usyk? People are going to be furious on the internet. Furious. Like what happened to the Aljamain Sterling situation, right? No. Disregard that. Just completely forget what I said. But, he goes out, gets the low blow, and then puts out Usyk. People are going to be crazy. Like, oh, this was a low blow, blah, blah, blah. Like, people are going to be mad. Like, boxing is disgusting. It's about, just shit like that. And they played it. I'm sure they had to, make this call on the fly. So to make that call on the fly, and that was the best choice to make. Hey, it was a low blow. Let him take his time. Then they'll keep fighting. If anything, he'll recover. Dubois was not hurt enough where he was in trouble. So it's just like, and let's just get back to the fight, right? And, may the best man win. And I think that was the fairest thing that could have happened. And that's exactly what happened. And, Usyk, came out and then just beat him. So Dubois can be mad to an extent, but he had a lot more fight. There was still like I said, 7 to 8 rounds left. So you can't put it all on this low blow. It's unfortunate that it happened, but it's just like, okay, man, like you lost, you're young, go get some more wins, and then just come back and fight Usyk. It happens. As far as Usyk, I think he should go fight Deontay Wilder. That fight gets me excited because Tommy Fury's not going to fight him. Doesn't want to. And to be honest with you, Deontay Wilder's just been looking sharp, man. Like, just sharp, looking good, looking dominant, looking strong, looking healthy. So, I mean, in my eyes, if Deontay Wilder goes to fight Usyk, I mean, Deontay Wilder has a good chance to win. Imagine he gets to win. Maybe fight someone like Joshua, beats Joshua. Fuck it, throw in there Andy Ruiz, beats Andy Ruiz. And then, I mean, at that point, it's just like, well, is he the best heavyweight of all time? Even though he lost to the Gypsy King, and who knows? Who knows? And who knows? What if we get to see them fight again? I know they're not getting any younger, but it would be cool to see them fight again as well. Especially if Wilder can get some wins. Yeah. So that was this weekend. Like I said, it was very chill, very calm. I'm gonna start posting twice a week. That's kind of what I want to do. Kind of have a schedule now. Kind of figure out how things are kind of going or getting a hang of a routine. And if there's anything that you guys want me to talk about, a specific fighter, specific fight, certain event, card, just anything like that, just let me know or leave a comment. So yeah. All right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed this one. I hope you guys been enjoying all the other content. I'm trying to make it better overall, like the clips, thumbnails, titles, the content itself, the podcast episode itself. Let me know what you want to see. Let me know what I could do better. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.